everyone. I want to welcome each of you because your being here matters a lot. Perhaps nothing could be more important for the welfare of our country and for the world at this critical time than for us to come together like this in interfaith harmony. Here on campus, we open every event by acknowledging with lasting respect that the place where we are meeting today is within the traditional territories of the West Coast and Strait Salish peoples, specifically the Songhees, the Esquimalt, and the Lasanic, and in particular the Lekwungen family group, all of whose historical relationships with the land continue to this day. In 2010, the United Nations General Assembly unanimously ratified a motion to dedicate the first week every February as World Interfaith Harmony Week. Since 2011, this movement has been growing all over the world. This year, 2 multi-faith organizations at the university and throughout Greater Victoria have collaborated to show the strength of this interfaith harmony here on the island. So I'd like to begin by introducing to you Mr. Ali Hemani, who is president of the Victoria Multi-Faith Society.
Thank you for the warm welcome, Elaine. I wanted to start with a quick introduction of the VMS board members and the faith groups they represent. My name is Ali Hemani. I am the chair of the Victoria Multi-Faith Society, and I represent the Muslim faith community here in Victoria. I will ask each board member to stand beside me as I introduce them. Sheila Flood is a secretary at VMS and represents the Baha'i faith. Christine Johnson is the treasurer at VMS and represents the Unitarian faith. Malcolm Reed represents the Christian faith. Shoshana Littman represents the Jewish faith. Sri Devi Ganti represents the Hindu faith, and she's also here as one of our esteemed panelists. Janine Theobald represents the Buddhist faith. We are a very active and hands-on board, and I wanted to take this opportunity to thank them for all the passion, help, support, and wisdom they have provided over the last year. Thank you. On behalf of the Victoria Multi-Faith Society and our represented faith communities, we wanted to extend our condolences and support to the Muslim community here in Victoria and across the country for the terrible and senseless killings at the Quebec City Mosque last Sunday. Members of the VMS board and many of you attended the vigil on Tuesday at City Hall to stand in solidarity with all our Muslim brothers and sisters, and to let them know they are not alone. We are blessed that we live in a society that will not stand by and let this kind of cowardly and hate-filled crime be inflicted on any community. When one faith community is attacked, we are all attacked. As I listened to the news in shock on Monday, I couldn't help thinking of the 6 men killed in this horrific way. They were fathers, husbands, brothers, sons, businessmen, learned professors, and very much a part of our Canadian fabric and mosaic. More importantly, they were devoted men of faith whose lives were cut off while praying in a place of worship where there was an expectation of safety and sanctuary. They could have been you or me. So although we did not know these men personally, let's take a moment and reflect on their lives and the grief of their families, and say a silent prayer for their souls. I also wanted to express my deep gratitude for all the kind thoughts and warmth shown to our Muslim communities by our national and municipal leaders, various clergy and faith group leaders, and most of all our neighbors during this difficult time. Thank you. Imam Ismail from the Quadra Mosque has also shared a letter, which I would like to read now. The BC Muslim Association Victoria Branch. Greetings all. I would like to thank every single one of you from the bottom of my heart for the tremendous support the Muslim community here in Victoria has received the past few days. It truly has been overwhelming. When the news first broke about the shooting, the initial emotion we felt was shock. However, that quickly changed into fear. Many members from our congregation asked me if we were safe here in Victoria. Could the same horrible terrorist attacks happen here at our own masjid? Before I had a chance to respond, the support and solidarity started flooding in. The Canada people gave us the biggest reassurance we could have ever asked for. We were wanted and we were loved. So, on behalf of the Muslim community here in Victoria and the mosque, we wish to express what words really can't express. And we want to say a big thank you to everyone. Islamophobia is real, but we can overcome it together. Sincerely, Imam Ismail, Masjid Al-Iman. I would like to end by saying that although this hate-based crime does not define our Canadian society, we still have a lot of work ahead of us as faith groups to educate and build bridges, to overcome ignorance and fear. And in this case, Islamophobia. Tomorrow it might be something else. And that is part of the vision and mission of the Victoria Multi-Faith Society and the UVic Multi-Faith Services. I encourage all of you to make the most of your time here today as we listen to our esteemed panelists and hopefully are able to take away some precious nuggets of wisdom from each faith tradition for healing our fragmented societies. Thank you.
Now I'd like to invite Reverend Angela Wood to come up and introduce to you members of the UVic Multi-Faith Society office.
Thank you, Elaine. Yeah, as I was standing out in the foyer there and looking at the button blanket, and I thought, that sums it up, those 4 words: hope, love, trust, and respect. Because it's as you mentioned, it's not about one group. It's about all of us. And I was heartened. I love looking at the joy of being together among my fellow chaplains and how we share the richness of our human nature and our love. And we have to work through stuff, but we work through it, and I really appreciate that. And I was heartened, and I hope it is a real news thing, because now I look on the internet and I wonder, is this real or not? But in Victoria, Texas last week, a mosque burned down. And I was so heartened because the Jewish leaders of the synagogue, the only synagogue in that town, handed over the keys to their synagogue to the Muslim leaders and said, welcome. That, you want to know what solution is? That's the solution. So it's my pleasure and joy to introduce my colleagues, and they're all the ones that are here are sitting, and if you would stand up when I say your name, that would be wonderful. Representing Christian Science is Mr. John Park, and representing the Anglican community is Ruth Dancer. Representing our Buddhist community is Reverend Sochin McMurchie. And representing the Unitarian faith community is Shauna Lingood. And did you know, you guys were sitting in the wrong place. So I thought, where's Sharon? And representing our Jewish community is Sharon Kabrinsky. And you've met our moderator here today, Dr. Elaine McCreary. And am I? Yes. I would like to introduce you to our director. And she is just coming from such a heartfelt position. And she has a message that was written by our president of the university here, and I felt it appropriate that she is the one that gets to read this. So would you please welcome Rita Canolo, Director of Counseling and Director of Multi-Faith Services.
Thank you, Angela. Another person I'd like to introduce who is coming onto our board is Dr. Ganti. He also represents the Hindu faith. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. It's really beautiful to see everyone here. It's a real pleasure for me to be here and to work with these wonderful people at the UVic Multi-Faith Services, and it's a real pleasure that they've partnered with the Society, the Multi-Faith Society. The president of the university was really, as everyone, really moved by everything that's happened, and he wrote a statement on January 30th that was on our webpage at the University of Victoria. I thought I would just read a few of the messages from it, but you could also still find it through the webpage if you're interested. So it's from President Jamie Castles, and he's talking about the murders in Quebec City and the executive order. He starts, first our thoughts are with the families and friends affected by the heartbreaking tragedy at the Islamic Cultural Center in Quebec City on Sunday night. Hatred and intolerance strike at the fundamental values we treasure as Canadians, and the murder of our fellow citizens, driven by these evils, affect every one of us. It also spurs us to redouble our commitment at this university to the promotion of tolerance, respect, and inclusion in everything we do. We are aware that there are students, faculty, and staff at our university who may be directly and personally affected by the executive order. We encourage any university community members who are concerned about this order, how it may impact their work or studies, to approach their unit heads or supervisors. We're also providing services and consultation through counseling services, multi-faith services, and the international student services. And we have tables in the foyer if you're interested in some of the materials that we're sharing. On the role of universities, the President speaking, I want to emphasize our commitment at UVic to the values of diversity, inclusion, and mutual respect. Indeed, as I affirmed at our diversity forum just last week, these values are central to our very mission at this university. Universities play an extraordinarily important role in encouraging dialogue on critical social issues, particularly during times of change and conflict. Universities are places of dialogue, discovery, education, knowledge mobilization, and above all, hope.
Now, the next point, I think, is quite important to the whole theme of our day. And it's that standing up for each other and protecting our diversity is only half of what harmony means. Diversity does not mean living in isolation from each other. Diversity fulfills itself when it contributes to the common good, to our shared society. So the second half of harmony is for all of us to recognize the positive benefit that each brings to our community life. Our program today emphasizes this aspect, the gifts that our respective traditions bring to the world. One gift is to appreciate the enormous impact of our speech. And so I'd like to invite a story from the Jewish tradition recounted by Shoshana Littman, Canada's first ordained Megiddah, a female storyteller and educator. Shoshana believes in the power of positive speech and right action to help heal the world, Bezrat Hashem, with the divine assistance.